Yo, what's up, guys? We're back, and yeah, I'm excited for this one. This is a big one, big event. UFC 263. There's Israel Adesanya on the card, Nate Diaz on the card. They got a Figueiredo rematch. So, excellent card, and definitely excited to break it down here. Before we get started, though, like always, man, I just want to try to get some likes, get some comments down below. So, make sure to get involved. Put your opinion down there, and just like I said last week. EquitySportsAnalytics.com they're gonna be sponsoring this parlay of the week. So every month, I believe, or whenever I decide, I think it's gonna be every month. It might be a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, but thanks to them sponsoring the parlay of the week this week, the winner of the contest that I'm about to tell you guys about is gonna get a free, not a free, but it's gonna get $20 sent to you guys courtesy of the EquitySportsAnalytics.com sponsorship. So big shout out to them. Obviously, make sure to check out their website as well because they do every sport, which is pretty cool. They do a lot of analytics where they have a lot of data. It's stats driven, and they're very, very good at what they do. They have a good track record. They also have a dividends promotion where if you if you lose over a 2-week period, then they're gonna pay your money back. So it's a risk-free as well if you want to try it off the bat. And yeah, man, it's just it's a great website. Friends don't let friends gamble without math. I definitely feel like analytics data is a very big thing when it comes to this. So definitely believe in what they do. But big shout out to them for sponsoring this contest for the parlay of the week. So what I want you guys to do is to be involved. You just have to like the video. And you just have to comment down below and write a parlay that you guys have or prop play, anything. And just whoever hits it with the most value, like off $100 bet, let's say, that's going to be the winner of the bet. So if you give me a plus 1,500 prop and it hits, and that's the the biggest return on investment, then you're going to be the winner of the sponsorship. The parlay of the week winner this week. So. Big shout out to whoever's going to do that, but really would like all you guys to get involved. I want to have as many people in the competition as possible, and it's free for you guys. You guys get to have some fun, and you could potentially win some money. So definitely think it's worth it. And a big shout out to EquitySportsAnalytics.com. Another thing I want to give a big shout out to real quick as well is the Fanatics Fantasy MMA app. They're also sponsoring the videos. I talked about it a little bit last week, and it was really fun, man. I mean, I had quite a few people join. And get into the competition where we're all playing for the $100 for the end of the year. So, like I said, I mean, right now, if you only missed 1, 2, 3 events, it's you could still get back in. But if you start, getting way too far behind, then eventually you're probably not going to be able to catch up and win that $100. So make sure to go in there and sign up if you haven't gotten part of the group yet. And basically what it is it's pretty cool. It's a group where essentially you put in all your picks, you put in what the method of victory you think is going to be, what's going to happen in the fights, and it works off the Las Vegas betting line. So I'm not sure exactly which book they use, but they work off a certain sports book, and it just gives you a return on investment on every fight. So if you picked let's say for this fight that's on the screen, Jake Collier by first round knockout, if it happens, the odds are plus 500. You just won $500. So we had some people sign up for that last week, and Ricardo Weber was the winner. So big shout out to him. He's in the lead right now for the $100 for the end of the year. So like I said, if you get in there now and at the end of the year you're in first place, you're going to win $100 courtesy of the Fanatics Fantasy MMA app. And you could follow them on social medias as well as I believe they have a website as well. It's getfanatics.app, but I actually, just got their app. They have it on, the iTunes store. They probably have it for Android as well, and it's really easy to use. It was pretty simple, so, if you want to do that as well, and, I am going to be putting the group link in the description below, so if you want to jump in there, get your potential of winning $100, then, definitely do that. So big shout out to them, man. It's, they're going to keep the show going. All you guys' support's going to keep the show going. Everyone that jumps over on Patreon, there's a lot of events this week, ACA, Bellator, Invicta. They have a PFL, so there's going to be a lot of content going over there on the Patreon. I appreciate all you guys as well. So, I really do like doing this, and, it's it was a hobby at first, and it's maybe turning into potentially more. So it's really awesome, and I really appreciate that. So yeah, man, it's going to only be moving forward, and we're going to hopefully keep doing well on these predictions and picks. We've been doing pretty good on the parlays of the week. We've hit, a few in a row, so going to look to keep that momentum going on this card here in the first fight of the night with Carlos Felipe and Jake Collier. And, I mean, it's two kind of slow heavyweights, and I'm not really super invested in either of them, but it should be a fun fight to kick off the card. And Carlos Felipe, he lost his UFC debut, but he has gotten 2 wins in a row. His last win was a pretty fun fight against Justin Tafa. It was a close fight, split decision, and they went to war a little bit. It was one of the more fun fights, heavyweight fights of the year. I don't think it was like a really high level fight, but it was fun to watch. And when you look at Carlos Felipe, he's primarily a boxer. He does throw volume, and he's a pretty tough guy. He likes to kind of get into brawls, and he has fast hands. His boxing is decent for a heavyweight. Good jab. He works a lot of 1-2s to the head and to the body. He throws a lot of 2-3s as well, and he likes to kind of throw the overhand right a lot. He'll work the body with hooks to open up the overhand right, and he will try to slip the jab and then counter with overhand rights, with with straight rights, but he doesn't really feint a lot. He always is coming forward, so jab, straight shots are effective against him. And Sergey Spivak, he did have a lot of success with the jab against Felipe. And on the inside, Felipe does have some quick hands. He'll throw punches in bunches, and his body attack is what I think is probably the best part of his game. He kind of just likes to press forward, back you towards the cage, and then kind of let go with his hand combinations, mix up the target, and his hands are pretty fast. He's not really a power puncher. It's just more about volume, but he has a really good chin, and he kind of can eat a shot to give a shot. So he'll taunt guys and try to kind of like get them to get into a war. And then on the inside, he wants to kind of try to use his hand speed in the pocket, his kind of better, boxing, technical skills to get the win. And in his fight with Justin Tafa, I mean, you saw him going forward to forehead at certain times. And at range, I mean, Tafa was lighting him up with the leg kicks. And, Felipe just doesn't really have a lot of weapons. He doesn't throw too many kicks. It's a lot of loopy punches. I've seen him, throw some leg kicks, body kicks, but he just doesn't look very good with his kicks. And he struggled with Tafa being able to use feints, his reach, and Tafa's speed himself. Collier's also going to have that as being one of the quicker heavyweights. But Felipe, he can land, big shots on the inside. He doesn't really have big power, but he wears on you. And, he definitely is a tough guy. But he struggles with leg kicks. He also kind of has a tendency to shell up and keep a high guard, which does leave his body a little bit open. And he also doesn't really deal the best with guys that can feint and move. So, he more wants just kind of a pocket fight, boxing fight. His grappling is not very good, in my opinion. I mean, we saw Sergey Spivak get him down in the third round pretty easily. And I don't think he has terrible takedown defense, but it isn't good. And in the open, and I feel like off of his back, he just doesn't really do much at all. We've seen him controlled on his back against Spivak and really dominated. Justin Tafa and Yorgan De Castro, who are non-grapplers, also kind of had periods of time where he was a little bit complacent and let them hold him against the cage. Felipe does give his back to stand up, and Sergey Spivak was able to exploit that, really beat him up from that wrestling ride position, and he just isn't an offensive grappler, so he has no threats off of his back, and he doesn't really initiate grappling situations too well. So, I feel like this fight, though, it's probably going to be on the feet. I mean, Jake Collier, I don't really expect him to try to get a lot of takedowns at heavyweight. I know he has gotten some, grappling going in the past, but it's like, man, I mean, I just don't know if he has the cardio, and those are big guys you have to grapple, take down. I mean, Collier, he has a good frame for the division. He's probably going to maybe even look like he's the bigger guy, but obviously he, doesn't have the weight isn't great weight. It's not great for Felipe either, but I feel like Felipe is a little bit stronger, bigger, like, more naturally big. But Collier, he's going to have a decent style because he's going to have the length, 3-inch reach advantage, 3.5-inch reach advantage, 3-inch height advantage. And, he throws a lot of kicks, leg kicks, which could be effective here. Some front kicks, round kicks to the body. He'll throw some nice high kicks. He'll even throw some spins in there, spinning back kicks, spinning back fists. And he's usually a durable guy. I mean, we did see him kind of get taken out really quick by Tom Aspinall, but bounced back, had a better performance against Vellante. And his jab looked good against Vellante, which I feel like, in this fight, if he can really have that jab popping, it could maybe be successful for him. I feel like, if anyone tries to mix it up, like I said, it's going to be Collier, but I think it's going to be on the feet, and Collier's going to want to try to use jabs, low kicks, try to feint to get Felipe to raise his guard, maybe and then attack the body. And Collier did do a good job switching stances in his last fight. He was using the front kicks pretty well against Vellante. He's going to have the kicking advantage, obviously, and I feel like he also has the power advantage. So I could see him maybe trying to use his jab, his body kicks down the outside. And against Gian Vellante, though, both guys are kind of headhunting a lot with the punches. And Collier didn't have to deal with much coming back from Gian. He didn't have to deal with a lot of variation. I believe that Felipe is going to try to rip the body, pressure, make it a more high-paced fight. And I feel like he's going to have a lot of success with the body shots, because I saw Jake Collier was leaving a lot of openings for body shots against Vellante. Vellante is not a body puncher, and I'm not sure how he's going to take body shots at this higher weight class, with how he looks. But I do think Collier is the better jab. Felipe is going to have to kind of get on the inside, throw combinations. He's going to have to force him back, and I think if he can do that, he can kind of wear down Collier. Collier throws a lot of volume. They kind of both are more volume punchers. So maybe one of them could get ahead on the numbers, but I think it's going to be kind of a close fight. I feel like, the line could be a little bit closer. I feel like, obviously Felipe, he had that real close fight with Justin Tafa, and then we just saw Justin Tafa go out there look really bad against Jared Vanderaa. So I think it kind of dropped Felipe's stock a little bit. But, just matchup-wise, I think it could be a little bit closer because, trusting a guy like Carlos Felipe, who, doesn't really have any overwhelmingly good skills, isn't a high-level athlete, at that high of a price, I just feel like Collier maybe is a little bit more skilled technically. He's just kind of fighting out of his weight class. He isn't in the best shape, obviously, and, I feel like Felipe maybe wants it a little bit more at this point in his career. Felipe is only 26. He is very still, like, even if he doesn't have the skills, he still is fights really hard and he wants to win. I don't think Vellante wanted to win too badly. I mean, Vellante, we all know, kind of washed out of the UFC at this point. So I think Collier is going to be in for a lot tougher fight. And I just feel like Felipe is going to be the guy that wants it more because, man, I mean, I'm not trying to be super disrespectful or anything, but like if Collier really wanted it that bad, he wouldn't be fighting a heavyweight, in my opinion. So, I mean, maybe you could say the same thing about a guy like Felipe, but Felipe's been fighting there his whole career, so it's a little bit different. So I'm going with Carlos Felipe. I think it'll be competitive, but I think he's going to be able to win the decision here. And in the second fight night here, we got two young guys. It should be a fun fight here with Fares Siam taking on Luigi Vendramini. Both these guys bounced back with the win after losing their UFC debuts. And Fares Siam, he's a French prospect. He got the win in his last fight against Jamie Mullarkey, but the decision was very controversial. I think most people felt like Mullarkey should have got the win, but nonetheless, he's going to have some momentum if he can make it two in a row here. Siam, he's a kickboxer. He's pretty sharp. He likes to keep fighters at the end of his punches. Good jabs, good straight shots. He also throws some good kicks. He likes, to use front kicks up the middle. He will also use decent striking moving backwards. He'll use some nice check hooks. And, when he can keep the range and, make it a pretty technical fight, he can chop you up. He could look good. But I feel like he doesn't do the best against forward pressure. He will back up in straight lines at times. And I know he's looking to counter, but he needs to be more aggressive to kind of win consistently in the UFC. He will look for counters, and you do have to be careful, watch for his elbows. And, he lets fighters back him up and get his back against the cage, though. And you could tell he doesn't really have the best composure or defense in the pocket. He likes to kind of try to clinch and use a lot of grappling. He's actually used a lot of grappling in a lot of his wins. But, what he does have on the inside are good elbows. And when he can clinch, he will land some nice knees as well. He can put damage on guys. And he likes to counterpunch, but he doesn't really feint or have great head movement. So, Jamie Malarkey had a lot of success countering his jab with leg kicks. Or countering his jab, and he had success with the leg kicks. And, Far Siam, he doesn't really have fight-ending power in his hands. It's more his knees and his elbows that are dangerous. He does have 5 knockouts. But I feel like Vendramini is the more dangerous striker on the feet in terms of a finish. For Varsiam, his grappling, he does have good offensive wrestling. He has good timing on his level changes, and he will set the takedowns up pretty well with his strikes. He will level change into singles and doubles. He has good body locks, good trips, and he was able to put on a wrestling clinic on a fighter I saw when he fought Yassim Belhaj on the regional scene, but I wasn't too impressed with his jiu-jitsu or top game. I doubt that he's going to want to go to the mat with a guy that's a black belt in Vendramini. And even if he does get on top, I think that, he's not going to have a lot of success. I think that he could get submitted or swept. And defensively, his wrestling needs work. In his fight with Don Madge, he was able to deny a lot of the takedowns. But, he allowed a striker in Madge to control him in the clinch against the cage for, large periods. And then Jamie Malarkey, who's more of a grappler, was able to hit 5 takedowns on Ziam. And Ziam isn't a fish out of water on his back, though. He has good half-guard sweeps. He was able to hit a half-guard sweep on Jamie Malarkey in the first and the third round. And in the third round, Ziam was able to take the back in the last minute of the fight, which is probably what got him the decision win. So he is a guy that he doesn't give up on himself. He'll fight until the final bell. And he will give his back to stand up, so he has been submitted by rear naked choke twice. And like I said, if you can put him on his back, that's probably where he's weakest. He just didn't look that good against Don Madge in those areas. For his opponent, Luigi Vendramini, he made good on his first camp with Factory X. He blew through Yasin Ayari in the first round, and he's only 25 years old himself, so, it looks like he made a lot of improvements in the 2 years he was off before that fight with Ayari. And he's a pretty well-rounded guy. He's a black belt. He has solid striking. His movement is good. He likes to counter-strike. He likes to move around the outside, mix in level changes, takedowns, and, come over the top with counters. And he has good head movement. Against Yesna Ayari, he slipped the jab, countered with a really nasty right cross that hurt Ayari. Followed up with a big combination that had a high kick in it, I believe, that ended the fight. So showed some, dynamism. He was able to mix a high kick in the middle of his combination. He's very explosive. And like I said, he's more one of these guys that he is looking to grapple a little bit more, but he's athletic and he's young and he moves around. He has good movement, and he'll look to, move in with counter crosses, counter overhands, and when he hurts you, he'll go for the kill. So he kind of has a well-rounded game where he'll mix it up. But I expect him to try to grapple here. In his last fight, he did get that head kick knockout. But he's still a grappler. He's a black belt at the end of the day. And he's going to have a big edge if he can hit the takedown. Ziam really hasn't shown the ability to stop the takedown. And we saw Luigi Vendramini, take the back of Zaleski dos Santos. He almost got a rear naked choke on Zaleski, and that was up a weight class. And, Ziam obviously has been submitted twice by rear naked choke, like I said. So that is a path to victory for Vendramini. Vendramini is pretty aggressive, and I think unless Ziam just catches him coming in, knocks him out, which is a little bit unlikely unless he lands an elbow or, times a knee, times an uppercut, because Ziam really isn't a power guy. I think that Vendramini should be able to get the fight to the ground. He has good level changes, and when he gets on top, Vendramini is aggressive. He has good ground and pound. He does a good job of moving into dominant positions quickly, and he has a good submission game. So I feel like he's young, he's well-rounded, he's a good athlete. He's the more explosive guy as well, and I feel like if he could pressure, he's going to have success countering the jab as Ziam and keeping him honest with the boxing. I think that Vendramini could even have success on the feet, especially if he gets his grappling going early in the fight. So the pick for me is going to be Luigi Vendramini in this one. And, one thing about Vendramini that is a little bit... it's maybe not worrying, but you just don't know a lot about it, is that only 3 of his fights have went past the first round, so he usually goes in there, gets the job done early, and, we don't really know how his cardio is going to be. He's never made it to decision. But I got faith in him. I think, him coming over to the United States at a young age, training over here for a while, being a dedicated martial artist for a long time, I feel like he's going to come in shape and be able to, push for 3 rounds. So I'm going to go with Vendramini in this one to get the win. We're starting this card off a little wacky, right? I mean, we got first fight night, Felipe is taking on Jake Collier, and now we got Steven Peterson versus Chase Hooper here. So, yeah, I mean, we're going to get into this one. Interesting fight, in my opinion. I mean, Ocho Peterson, he's coming back to the octagon for the first time in almost 2 years. He's had some fights scheduled, but he's just, always gotten injured. He can't seem to shake that injury bug. And, last time Peterson fought, Hooper wasn't even in the UFC yet. So, definitely has been a while. But Peterson, he's only 31 years old, so he has some time. I mean, he does have a reckless style, though, so may kind of just be all coming back to bite him at a younger age. But, the layoff could be good for him, who knows. Unfortunately, it did come at a bad time, though. He was coming off a knockout of the year candidate against Martin Bravo, which is his last fight, and he just wasn't able to capitalize on that momentum. And Chase Hooper, I mean, this is going to be his 4th fight in the UFC, and some people believe, he shouldn't be even in the organization, but he's somehow been able to go 2-1 in his first 3 UFC fights, so he's finding ways to get wins, and to me it's impressive because he's 21 years old. He, is super tough. He's just like a gamer, man. I mean, everyone maligns his skills, but he finds ways to win. He's a dangerous guy. He's, gone to South Carolina. I think he's training with Wonder Boy's father. And being so young, I mean, he just needs to slowly improve. Obviously, he isn't going to come out looking like Stephen Thompson, but if he can just get some basics down a little bit better, range control, distance control, it could go a long way. I mean, he already has a tough style to deal with because he's a grappler. He's a long guy with a long frame. And, someone that is tough with reach and grappling ability, I mean, that's always kind of a hard style to fight. In terms of this fight, though, I mean, on the feet, man, I know a lot of people, they trash Chase Hooper striking, but Steven Peterson striking maybe a little bit better. I mean, maybe just on forward pressure and power alone because he's kind of got that, grown man strength a little bit more than Chase. But besides that, I mean, I feel like if this fight stays on the feet, it's going to be a real bad striking fight. I mean, Steven Peterson, he comes forward, tough guy. He'll throw some, hand combinations and, he'll mix some kicks in there. And so will Hooper, but they're both super unrefined, unskilled. I actually think Hooper, is probably going to be a little bit more athletic, and he's going to have the big height and reach advantage. So, on the feet, I don't think he's going to be able to keep Peterson off of him, so that's why I do kind of lean towards Peterson maybe being the superior striker if they strike a stand-up fight, because he's going to be able to maybe get on the inside and bully Hooper a little bit, land some shots that maybe kind of, off-balance him and just be kind of the guy going forward. But both these guys are grapplers. I mean, I don't know what belt Steven Peterson is in jiu-jitsu, but he likes to wrestle, he likes to grind, he has decent submission game, and Chase Hooper obviously is a black belt, and that's his thing. And, in terms of the grappling, I do favor Hooper because Peterson, I mean, he's a grinder. He's going to have the better wrestling, obviously. And, if he can get on top and just grind out the position, then, that could be a path to victory for him. I don't really see him being able to hit his submission or finish with ground and pound against a guy like Hooper. But Hooper, with his leg entanglements, with his flexibility and his just kind of awkward lankiness, he can create a lot of really good scrambles, and I feel like he's actually going to be, better in the scrambles than Steven Peterson. We saw Chase Hooper, get a, late submission in his last fight against Peter Barrett where he was losing the whole fight, got the submission, so his cardio is always going to be good. Both these guys always come in with good cardio, but obviously with Peterson, with the layoff, who knows? For a fact, Hooper's going to come in there with good cardio. He's not going to look for a way out. We've seen that in his, at least his few UFC fights. And Ocho Peterson, I mean, he's a dog. He's the same way. He's always going to come forward. And, I mean, this is a tough pick for me. I really, I kind of agree with the money line. I think it's like an even money fight because you got a guy in Hooper who's young, who obviously some people malign his skills and they don't really think he's up to par. And I tend to agree. But, he's always going to be coming in here probably looking a little bit better and a little bit better. And, this is probably, his last opponent, Peter Barrett, to me, was, obviously his grappling isn't even close to the level of Steven Peterson, and that gave Hooper a better chance to win in a way. But Peter Barrett is a much, much better striker than Steven Peterson, in my opinion. So, it is a step down in that, sense. And Peterson on the other end, he hasn't fought in a while. He's been battling injuries, and he's not that old, but at 145 and in your 30s, you're kind of maybe even getting a little bit up there. It's still a 10-year age disadvantage for Peterson, or advantage, however you want to see it. I'm going to go with Steven Peterson by decision here, but like I said, this is one of my least confident picks of the card. I feel like, Hooper could get the win here if they go on the ground. Like I said, I think Hooper is a little bit better. And, I think the fight could play out on the ground, or, Peterson comes in here with a smart game plan, like I think he will, and pressures, leg kicks, keeps it on the feet, and just kind of bullies him. If Hooper tries to pull guard, or kind of wraps you up and takes you to the ground and just stand back up, and don't kind of engage in that kind of game with him, then I think he can get the win. But I don't think it's going to be pretty, and yeah, I don't have a lot of confidence, but I'm going to go with Ocho Peterson here. And, talking about hard fights to pick, we got another one here, man. Matt Frevola, Terrence McKinney. Yeah, I mean, this is a short notice fight, but both these guys are fucking madmen. So I feel like, honestly, Matt Frevola has to kind of harness that in, be a little bit smarter, not kind of let that out of him. Because if he does, then I think Terrence McKinney has a really good chance to get the win in the first round. But, breaking this fight down, we got two guys that, win a lot of their fights through grappling. Terrence McKinney, he's a former college wrestler. He's a great athlete. And, he's super aggressive, man. I mean, I think all but one of his finishes or one of his wins are in the first round. And he just comes out like a ball of fire. He comes forward. His striking isn't that good. It's real wild. And he keeps his chin right up there. He doesn't really have his hands as high as I like either. I feel like he's kind of a bad knockout waiting to happen, and we already did see Sean Woodson put him out with the flying knee, but he's super aggressive and athletic, and he lets it go, so it's dangerous. I mean, he throws a really nice high kick. He'll throw that rear leg high kick to the head all the time. He's actually gotten 2 knockouts in less than 20 seconds in his last 3 fights with that head kick, and he has good fast straight punches. But he more uses his punches to distract for the takedown. He likes to, throw a couple punches, then level change into that single leg. And when he gets on top, he's super aggressive, looking for the back, looking for the neck from any position, really, and just trying to get that submission. And that's kind of his game. I mean, he's super frenetic. He likes to keep it at a crazy pace on the feet. He likes to get in your face, brawl a little bit, then level change, get it to the ground, then try to, put you in a submission web and take you out early. So, he's never won a decision. He, has 5 sub 1 minute victories and 2 sub 1 minute losses. So it's like 7 of his 13 fights have ended in less than a minute, which is pretty crazy. That just shows the kind of fighter that he is. And then you have Steamroller, Matt Frevola, who was supposed to come in here fighting Frank Camacho, and just shout out to Frank Camacho real quick. I saw he got in a car accident, so hopefully, he's 100%, feeling better. He can get back in the octagon soon. But, Frevola, he's had a lot of trouble getting these fights, man. He's had a lot of guys pull out. I know in his last fight, he had to jump in short notice and take that fight with Arman Sarukian, which was, obviously not a great matchup for him. But like I said in the beginning of the video, Frevola, he's a wild man too, and sometimes he'll come out there early on, and let's say McKinney gets in his face, starts throwing wild, and, Frevola obliges him and wants to, kind of play that game and do the dance, then he could easily get the knockout too, because I think he has the much better hands than McKinney, and just the better striking overall, especially if he can extend the exchanges and not let McKinney take him to the ground. But it's still a dangerous game. McKinney is going to be the faster, more athletic guy, and he could catch Frevola as well. Whereas I think if Frevola, I don't think he's as good of a grappler early on as McKinney is. So McKinney's going to have a chance potentially to get the takedown early, get in a dominant position, get the submission. But I don't see Frevola as a guy that is going to be a quick tapper, is going to give any easy positions. And McKinney, against Sean Woodson, against other guys, they have been able to stand up from under him and stuff like that. So I do feel like Frevola, if he's smart, he'll be able to work back up to his feet and eventually, start to get his game going, get McKinney a little bit tired. And that's kind of what I see happening here. I think that McKinney's going to come out real hot, try to get that early victory. And I think if Frevola can weather that storm, the tide's going to turn pretty quickly. And you don't want to be tired in front of a guy like Matt Frevola. That guy's a dog. He's going to go for the kill and try to take you out of there. And I feel like in this fight, he's actually going to have the striking advantage, whereas in most of his fights, he's a guy that has the grappling advantage. He's trying to take you down and, just grind you out. He's not really a big submission guy. In this one, I think that McKinney's going to have the grappling advantage, especially early on. Maybe as the fight goes on, Frevola will be able to kind of defend a couple of his takedowns, maybe sprawl and circle to the back, or maybe even get a takedown himself. But I think that, at least early on, Terrence is going to have the advantage there. But in the stand-up, in terms of just the composure, the hands, I think that Frevola is going to have the advantage. So for me, I'm going to go with Matt Frevola here. I think that he has a little too much higher level experience, UFC experience. I think that, he's going to be ready to go. He's going to know that McKinney's going to come out real early, real hard. And I think that he's going to be ready to weather that storm, kind of like a Lando Venata type fight for Frevola. And I don't think that McKinney is going to kind of have that savviness to go 3 hard rounds with a guy like Frevola. So I think it's actually a good opportunity for Frevola to get the finish in this fight. But like I said, I don't think you can count out a guy like Terrence McKinney because he has the athleticism and he has killer instinct and super aggression. So the guy goes out there for the kill. He's a killer be killed fighter. And, he could easily go out there and get another scalp. But for me, I'm going with experience. And I think Frevola just overall is a little bit better, well-rounded fighter, and he's going to have the toughness to survive that early storm and get the win. So give me Frevola on this one. And in this next one, we got our first women's fight of the card with Pannie Kianzad taking on Alexis Davis. And, at 29 years old, a lot of combat sports experience, Pannie Kianzad looks kind of like she's all putting it together. She's won 3 fights in a row. 2 of them have been against ranked opponents in the UFC. And she's shown off her skills. She's a good boxer. And, she's even shown her grappling skills. In this fight, much like her last one, she's going to be trying to anti-grapple. And she's proven that she's good in the clinch. She was able to have success in the clinch against Eubanks, against Julia Avila. And she has good offense there with her elbows, with her knees. Against Alexis Davis, it's going to be interesting to see who has the advantage in the clinch. Pannie also, did get taken down, though, in that first round against Jar Eubanks. She got controlled for almost the entire round. Eubanks hit a pretty good double leg, and she's a much more explosive freestyle wrestler than Alexis Davis. And I don't think Pannie's going to have to worry about, Davis exploding with the double leg like that, in my opinion. Davis is, more of a Greco-Roman type of wrestler. She tries to catch a kick and take you down. And Kianzad, she isn't really bad off bottom. She will attack from her guard, and you saw Sajar Eubanks actually got caught in a couple of pretty deep triangles, or not triangles, arm bars, and, she couldn't get a lot of damage off. And Sajar Eubanks is a girl that's a pretty good grappler. She's a high-level black belt. Eubanks was able to kind of take the back of Kianzad near the end of the first round, but in the second round, and on, Kianzad's guard really paid dividends for her. And obviously in this fight, on the feet, she's going to have a big advantage with her boxing. I think Pannie has one of the best lead hands in that division for 135. 135 to me is probably the weakest division for females, but Pannie has a really nice jab, good left hook, and she's really educated with that strike. So I feel like that's going to be a big issue for Alexis Davis, but Alexis Davis, she did have successful return to bantamweight. She defeated Sabina Mazo. It was a pretty dominant win as well, and she's a veteran. She's obviously a pretty tough out for anyone, and I think bantamweight is definitely her weight class. She had a couple fights down there at flyweight. She wasn't successful, and, I think she obviously doesn't look that good on the feet. She's a little bit awkward, but she brings the pressure, and fighters, who aren't ready for that can get kind of caught by surprise. But she's always kind of struggled with fighters who are good at keeping the range, sticking and moving. She's a little bit slow. She doesn't move her head off of center line. Her head movement looked a little bit better against Mazo, but she was still a step behind in the boxing exchanges. She got touched up a good bit on the feet. And she just has a tendency to hold her hands low. She drops her hand when she throws strikes herself. And she likes to throw a lot of left hook, straight rights, and she has some pop in her right hand. But, I just think the speed, the sharpness in Kianzad's boxing is going to be a lot to deal with for Davis on the feet. Davis does have some pretty good round kicks. Her rear leg kick is decent as well. She'll throw high kicks. She's good at countering with spinning back fists, and fighters try to cross the distance and counter her kicks. So she's okay with her kicking game. And she's pretty durable, but she has been finished by strikes 3 times. Obviously, where she shines is on the ground. Even off her back or on top, she has great jiu-jitsu black belt skills. And, against Sabina Mazo, she was essentially able to just catch kicks, get the takedown, dominate when she got on top. And she's very good at that. I don't think Pannie's going to be giving her a lot of kicks. So that's going to be something that she isn't going to be able to do. But she got 3 takedowns by catching Mazo's body kicks every time. Mazo wasn't able to get up off her back. And, that's how Davis won the fight. But Davis will try to punch her way into the body lock. And sometimes she'll shoot takedowns from distance, but she's just not super explosive. I don't really feel like she's the best wrestler, but when she can get on top, she's very heavy. Most girls can't stand up from under her. She will try to take the back. And most of her submission wins are rear naked chokes, but she hasn't gotten a submission in a while. It's been, I believe, quite a bit. Her takedown defense is not very good, but I feel like she almost just allows girls to take her down so she can work from her guard. We saw her actually win a fight from bottom against Liz Carmouche, and, she has good triangles, good arm bars, good leg lock sweeps, and she's pretty high level on the ground, so you don't even want to be there if you're on top. She also comes in good shape, and, I expect her to try to pressure and punch her way into the body lock. And she may have a little bit of success with her kicks, but I think on the feet, Pannie's going to have a big advantage with the speed. I think that she's going to make Davis pay in exchanges. And Pannie doesn't kick too much, unlike Mazo, so I don't really see Davis having nearly as many opportunities to get the takedown. If she can get the fight to the ground, she's going to have a big advantage because we have seen girls control and hold down Pannie Kianzad. So I feel like, obviously, that does give Alexis a path to victory. But ultimately, I think that Pannie is going to be a lot stronger in the clinch and able to hold her own in comparison to girls like Sabina Mazo. And I think she's going to be able to win the boxing. Davis is the better grappler, like I said. So if she can get on top, she'll win the fight. But I think that, Pannie's going to be able to keep it on the outside. And Pannie has, just got to win over a girl in Sajara Eubanks who's a similar style. So I think that having that camp move into this camp, it's good. It's something that she's going to be used to the look, and I think she's going to be able to get the win. In this next fight, we got a really good fight, man. Hakeem Dawodu taking on Movsar Evloev, and 2 young guys, 2 guys that are probably future top 15 guys. I don't know if they might even be in the top 15, but definitely 2 players that are going to be in that featherweight division for a while, unless Movsar decides to drop down to bantamweight. But 2 very different styles. That's why this fight is interesting, because we got essentially a striker versus grappler matchup here, where Movsar, he obviously has spent a lot of time over there at Tiger Muay Thai, and he's, been able to show off some of his striking against these grapplers like Nick Lentz, like Mike Grundy. But against Hakeem Dawodu, I think he is obviously going to try to go back to his roots and try to really grapple heavily. And for Hakeem Dawodu, he's won 5 fights in a row. And, he's probably the biggest Canadian prospect in the UFC right now. So the winner of this fight's going to get a high-level matchup. Movsar, he's undefeated overall in his career, undefeated in the UFC. Dawodu, 5-1 in the UFC. And looking at the fight, Hakeem Dawodu, he is going to be the best striker that Evloev has fought, especially, inside of the UFC. But I think that, his striking style, it's not a lot of movement. He's not, trying to keep you on the outside. He has more of that kind of Dutch Muay Thai style where he's standing right in front of you. He's walking you down. He's trying to stay in your face. And you've already seen him kind of up against the same similar style to a Movsar Evloev when he fought a guy in Murat Magomedov. And Murat Magomedov, to me, was nowhere near as good as Movsar was. On the feet, he really had nothing. He was kind of guy that likes to move around and then time that level change. And he gassed out pretty significantly in both fights. And obviously, Evloev is a guy that has an endless gas tank. But when you watch those fights, Hakeem Dawodu had a lot of issues defending the takedowns. He just doesn't really, like I said, he doesn't have a lot of evasive movement. So, he's going to have to try to chop down the legs, deny the takedowns. and or either try to work back up to his feet, attack the body, which he does very well, and try to get Movsar tired and then kind of take him out down the stretch, because Hakeem does do a good job of slow kicking guys, using leg kicks, using body shots, and, kind of wearing on him as the fight goes on. But Evloev is one of these Russian cats, man, where I just don't know if that's going to bother him. He's one of these guys that has endless cardio, seems like an assassin, just with his mentality, and just goes in there, kind of kill or be killed type of guy. Even though he's not a finisher, not kill or be killed, but he's one of these guys that I think is willing to kind of die in the octagon and, go out on his shield for sure. And like I said, his striking is evolving as well. So that's something that, people are going to have to stop sleeping on eventually. And he always has that wrestling in his back pocket. And I just think that's going to be the difference in this fight. When I watched that Hakeem versus Murat Magomedov fight, he was getting taken down in the first fight. At will in the first 2 rounds, controlled on the ground. He was able to work his way back up to his feet, but he was just getting mat returned. He couldn't really deal with the chain wrestling, and that's Evloev's thing. I think he's going to put a clinic on this guy with the chain wrestling. And, we've seen Hakeem Dawodu even get taken down by guys like Kyle Bochniak. And I just feel like, to beat a guy like Evloev, you either need to have knockout power or be an elusive guy. And Hakeem is neither one of those guys. He's not elusive. He tries to stay in your face and kind of break you down. He doesn't have fight-ending one-punch power. So I do feel like Evloev is going to be able to go in here and get the takedowns. And the only way Dawodu could win, which I just don't think is very likely, is if Evloev slows down from getting takedowns, or if he can't get the takedowns and Dawodu can keep it on the feet. I guess that's another path to victory, but I just don't see that happening. I think Evloev is going to be able to get it to the ground, and I think Evloev is going to be able to get the win. So I'm pretty confident in Movsar Evloev this week, and I think he's going to be able to get it done here. And, keeping it going through this prelim card, this next bout, is a pivotal fight for the women's flyweight division. The winner is probably going to get a title shot for against Valentina Shevchenko. Joanne Calderwood, she already had been scheduled to fight for the title, but never materialized. She decided to roll the dice. She took on Jennifer Maia, and kind of cost her a title shot, but she got back in there, earlier this year, late last year. I'm not 100% sure, and she got that big win over Jessica Ai. And Lauren Murphy, she's been in great form lately herself. Since moving down to 125, leaving the Ultimate Fighter House where she struggled, she's gone 5-1. She's won 4 fights in a row. She has 2 finishes in those 4 fights. And you could tell just from her interviews, from her physique, just her overall performances, that she's probably in the best mind space of her career. And she's moved over there to Houston, Texas. She's training with Bob Perez at 40 Ounce Fight Club. Same coach of Derek Lewis, same coach as Daniel Pineda, a couple other guys in the UFC, and you could see the improvements in her boxing. To me, though, it's more her mentality that's improved, if anything. But this is an interesting matchup because Lauren Murphy's a wrestler, but outside of her last fight where, she was striking a lot in that fight as well, she hasn't really been trying to take girls down. In this fight, I think she might go back to her old style she used against girls like Kelly Fashels and Chukagian. Historically, though, when you look at both of these girls, they lose against grapplers or wrestlers. Joanne Calderwood, she's been submitted 3 times in her 5 losses. She also got submitted on the Ultimate Fighter against Rose Namajunas, and she has lost to Cynthia Calvillo, who's a grappler. Outside of that, in striking fights, Joanne, she only has the 1 loss to Caitlin Chukagian in a close fight. Many people felt JoJo won, whereas Lauren Murphy, she has losses that came against Sarah McMahon, Liz Carmouche, Ajara Eubanks, and another one of her losses where she got out-grappled in the Ultimate Fighter against Nico Montano. And coincidentally enough, her only loss outside of that came against Caitlin Chukagian as well in terms of a different style. But Lauren Murphy, she's a grinder. She's very strong, fit, big for the division. She's pretty basic, but she's improved her jab a lot, and she throws some decent hand combinations, and she cuts the cage off. She's durable. She isn't very fast. I think she could struggle against these higher-level strikers. Like when she fought Angela Lee Chukagian, she kind of struggled with the movement and the kicks a little bit. She's probably going to struggle in this fight with the wide arsenal of strikes, the technicality of Calderwood. I expect her to try to close the distance and clinch and, try to keep Calderwood against the cage or try to hit takedowns. And if she can take down Calderwood, I think she's going to be able to control her on the ground. I know Murphy got the sub in her last fight, and that was the first submission of her career, so I'm sure she's going to have some confidence in her grappling. And her main attributes are really her strength, her durability, and her cardio. And JoJo Calderwood, I mean, she's always had the skills on the feet. And some fights she goes out there and shows it, like her last fight. And then just other fights she just comes out with flat performances. So it's hard to get a great read on her. But, at flyweight, she's been able to be a little bit more consistent. And her striking arsenal is a lot better than Murphy's. I mean, she's going to probably be chopping with the leg kicks like she always does, working those front teeps up the middle, trying to mix in the elbows. And I think she's going to be a little bit more dynamic, throw more volume on the feet, and be able to kind of keep Murphy a little bit on the outside. But the thing is, both these girls like to press forward and be the bully, be the one going forward. So it's going to be interesting to see who has the center of the cage in this fight. And, if Lauren Murphy can strike with Joanne Calderwood, like we've seen certain girls that maybe aren't on Joanne Calderwood's level striking-wise that have the threat of the takedown, like Cynthia Calvillo, be able to compete in the striking realm with her. And if that's the case with a girl like Lauren Murphy, then she might be able to get on the inside, use her hands, and have some success on the feet. But, I feel like JoJo is going to be able to win if it's a striking battle. And Murphy, I just don't know if she's going to be able to get it to the ground consistently. I think that Calderwood is actually going to be able to probably keep it at range and make it more of a striking fight for 3 rounds. And I'm going to say it's competitive, and, I'm not really, confident on either side. This is another one of these fights where I think it could maybe be up in the air a little bit. But I'm going to go with Joanne Calderwood to get this victory and probably win via decision. And coming up to this fight, I mean, this is a rebooking of a fight where Eryk Anders was actually pretty close to winning. I mean, he had stunned Darren Stewart pretty badly. Looked like he had him on the ropes. And, unfortunately, he kind of lost his head a little bit, landed a legal knee, and ended up being a no contest. So they're going to have to run it back here. The only difference between that matchup and this matchup is that they are doing it at 205 now. So no weight cut for either guy. I kind of feel like that more favors Eryk Anders. He's a big guy, and I think that Stewart is more of a 85er. But, they're going to come in here and they're going to probably do it at 205 just so they didn't have to worry about cutting weight since this fight is 8 weeks later. But, if you watch that first fight, it's hard to kind of be on Darren Stewart in this one because they kind of were trading, and Eryk Anders showed that he's gotten much better since going to Fight Ready. He's the more athletic, faster guy. He's bigger, and he was able to control the center of the cage, walk Stewart down, keep it long, and Stewart was throwing all these hooks, and he was kind of coming up short. Anders was tagging him. Anders in the clinch definitely was a lot better. And I feel like Stewart, he's one of these guys that, he's a brawler. He throws heavy, and even in this fight, I mean, even though Anders kind of worked him over in that first one, if Stewart connects with a big elbow, one of those big overhands, big hooks in the pocket, he can hurt Anders and put him out. But Anders is a very durable guy. He's never been finished. He had a lot of bad performances, but it looked like his last fight, he looked a lot better, significantly improved. We already know he's a very solid athlete, and it's just hard to pick against him here because I just don't know what Stewart is going to do different. Stewart's one of these guys that, like I said, he's a brawler, and he has good cardio, he has a good chin, and when he can get on top of you, he has good ground and pound. But I don't see him taking down a guy like Eryk Anders, and I think on the feet, Anders proved that he's more technical, and he has the firepower advantage. So I'm going to go with Eryk Anders in this one. I just think he's going to be able to get the finish. I got faith in Anders. I mean, I know in the last fight, a lot of people, including me, were all picking Stewart, though. So it is kind of might be like a trap, man. I don't know how confident I would be, going and putting money on Anders and everything like that. But I think it's hard to pick against him in this one. So I'm going to go with Eryk Anders. Man, this should be a banger, man. This has Fight of the Night written all over it with Drew Dober versus Brad Riddell. 2 guys that are going there, they're going to kickbox, they're going to throw down. And, Brad Riddell, he was going to fight Gregor Gillespie. I don't think that was going to go well for him. And obviously, Drew Dober got a similar matchup in Islam Makhachev in his last fight. It didn't go well for him. So, I'm sure Drew and Brad are happy that, they're going to get a striker in front of them. They're probably going to go to war, and it's going to be a fun fight. But man, I mean, it's interesting because, Brad Riddell's the guy that has all the pedigree, right? He has the big kickboxing background. He's beating guys like John Wayne Parr. He's trained over there at Tiger Muay Thai, at City Kickboxing. But I feel like Drew Dober is is a really hell of a striker, man. I mean, the guy has great in and out movement. He has true chunks for legs, and that's one thing that I see Brad Riddell trying to do, because Drew Dober doesn't really check leg kicks, and I think that Brad Riddell is going to try to test that. But man, I mean, that guy's legs are so huge. I don't know how effective those are going to be. And another thing, I just feel like Riddell, he's one of these guys. He's going to be the more technical striker. He likes to touch, and he has a really nice lead left hook. He'll explode into it in the pocket. He has really good feints, slips, good head movement, and he touches you with these 1-2 combinations. He'll go to the body, ends a lot of his combinations with good kicks. But I feel like he's a little bit deliberate, and Drew Dober is more one of these guys that he likes to stay on the outside, bounce in and out with his movement. But all he's trying to do is cut the cage off, back you up, and touch you, like with jabs, with his lead hook, with the straight right. But he's trying to just touch you from the outside so he can back you up towards the cage, get in the pocket, and exchange, man. And Brad Riddell likes to exchange in the pocket as well. And I feel like he leaves a lot of openings in the pocket that Dober can take advantage of. I think that he's a little bit too pretty, like he likes to throw these combos over and over, be a little bit deliberate, a little bit like technical. And Dober, he just throws, man. He throws sharp, nice striking technique as well. But I think he has the speed advantage and the power advantage. And I think in the pocket, man, these guys trade and exchange in the pocket. I think Dober's going to put his lights up, man. I really do. I mean, we've seen Jamie Malarkey hurt Brad Riddell really bad in that third round when they were exchanging in the pocket. And I just feel like Dober's going to be the significantly bigger guy in there. And I think he's going to be able to control the center of the cage and walk down Brad Riddell. Riddell's one of these guys that does like to grapple in a lot of his fights. Like, he likes to clinch up, grapple, try to get takedowns. And I could even see him maybe trying to grapple against Drew Dober in this fight. But, you have to think, I mean, both these guys were getting ready to fight. Drew Dober did fight a super beast grappler, and Islam Makhachev. Riddell's getting ready to fight Gregor. So I'm sure they were wrestling a lot. So I wouldn't be shocked to see Riddell try to mix it up, honestly. But, I know a lot of people think, they're going to disagree with me. They're going to say Riddell's the more technical striker, he's the better striker. And that might be true. I mean, he might have the better technique, but I just think style-wise, Dober, his style of wanting to get in the pocket and trade, Riddell has a willingness to do that. And I just think in the pocket, Dober is very dynamic. He's fast. He has the power advantage. And I just think he's going to put out Brad Riddell. So I'm going with Drew Dober in this fight. And kicking off the main card here, we got Paul Craig taking on Jamahal Hill. And I see some people taking shots, and they're, taking the chance on Paul Craig this week. But, I just really don't see that. I don't get it. I'm actually very confident Jamahal Hill is going to get the win in this matchup. I mean, when you look at the matchup, right, Paul Craig, he's improved his striking pretty significantly. But he's still a grappler. I mean, you look at those guys that he's been fighting, I don't think you could really gain a lot of optimism from that in terms of his striking really improving that much. I mean, he fought Vinicius Mamuch Moreira. He fought Shogun Hua, and in the first fight, I mean, he almost got him out of there, but it's like, how much stock can you put into that with Shogun? And then he fought, I believe, Godzimura Antigulov, another guy that kind of washed out the UFC, and then he had the rematch with Shogun, where Shogun, I think, came in with a torn ACL, looked horrible, and, Paul Craig was able to take advantage, but man, I mean, Jamahal Hill, he went in there with Ovince St. Preux, and you can maybe say Ovince St. Preux's a little over the hill as well, but, we saw what Ovince St. Preux did to Shogun years ago. I mean, so Shogun is kind of, not really been on that level for a while, in my opinion, and you got a guy in Jamahal Hill here who is 6'4", 79-inch reach, he's very athletic, and he's a guy that likes to keep it long, man. He's very good at keeping it long. He has one of the best jabs in the light heavyweight division, good boxing skills, and he does a really good job of pull countering. So that's why he can get clipped a little bit at times, and that's why maybe you could say his striking is a little bit sloppy, because he will pull back a little bit, but he does a good job of tucking his chin, and he will return. I mean, he has really good pull counters. His body attack is excellent too, man. I mean, he'll attack the body with punches, with these front knees to the body. He throws, a lot of front kicks and round kicks to the body. And you've seen him hurt and finish multiple guys with body shots. You see him getting taken down. I mean, I see people kind of making that argument. Like, he got taken down plenty of times by Darko Stosic and stuff like that. But Darko Stosic, man, that guy was shooting explosive double legs across the cage. I don't see Paul Craig doing that. I don't think Jamahal is going to overextend his punches and give his hips. And I think that when Paul Craig does shoot, it's going to be a lot slower. It's going to be easier to see, and I think it's not going to be as explosive. I think that Hill's going to be able to stuff his takedowns. And even if Paul Craig takes him down, the guy's not a top game player. I mean, he was able to get in that dominant position and finish Shogun Rua. But, I mean, man, like I said, I don't really put a lot of stock into that. And almost all of his finished wins are off of his back with triangles, R-bars, guillotines. Jamahal Hill isn't going to get on top of him. He has really good fight IQ. This guy isn't a dummy, man. So, I mean, I just feel like the guy has great fight IQ. He keeps it long. He's a terrible matchup. He has power. He has confidence. And this fight has a little bit of spice to it. I mean, I know Paul Craig was kind of insinuating that Jamahal Hill is ducking him. He faked COVID, stuff like that. And Jamal took it real personal. So, you know, they've been talking a lot of shit going back and forth. And I just don't see the fight ending well for Paul Craig, man. I don't think he's going to be able to get this takedown in a miracle sub. And I think Jamahal Hill is going to be able to put him out. So I'm going with Jamahal Hill here. And in this next fight, man, we got Demian Maia taking on Belal Muhammad. And pretty fun fight. I mean, Demian Maia, this could be his retirement fight. So every time he gets in the octagon now, it's kind of like must-see TV because it might be the last time you see him. And he's going to be taking on Belal Muhammad, who had that taste of high-level competition in his last fight against Leon Edwards. And unfortunately, I mean, that didn't go well for him at all. It was kind of a big fiasco, obviously. So didn't really get started in that one, but not getting a big step down in competition. I mean, they're giving him a legend in the game, probably a future UFC Hall of Famer in Demian Maia. So he's going to have a chance if he gets this victory to be right back in the mix, be right around that top 5. But looking at this fight, man, it really is super difficult to break it down because you got Belal Muhammad, right? I mean, what grapplers has this guy really faced? I mean, we're going to click on his record right here. I'm about to look at it. I mean, you guys could try to tell me. I mean, Diego Lima, striker. Lyman Good, striker. Takashi Sato, striker. Melender, striker. Jeff Neal. Chance Rencounter, I guess he's a wrestler. Tim Means, striker. Jordan Means, striker. Randy Brown, striker. Luque, striker. Montano. Alan Juban. I mean, all these guys, man. So, I mean, it's hard to kind of say how is he going to do against Demian Maia because Demian Maia is obviously that motherfucker. He's the grappler of grapplers. And, you know, his jiu-jitsu is probably, you know, if not the best, top 3, top 5, best ever jiu-jitsu in the UFC. And he also has become one of the best wrestlers for a jiu-jitsu guy in MMA history, in my opinion. I mean, his wrestling is top-notch. I mean, sometimes people, you know, kind of throw shade at his wrestling because he's lost to guys like Colby Covington, like Kamaru Usman, like Tyron Woodley, but it's like, man, I mean, those guys are the top of the food chain. They're, you know, national champion level wrestlers. Obviously, Demian Maia maybe isn't at that level, but every other guy has been able to take him out and choke him out and finish him. But, you know, the thing about Demian Maia is, I mean, he's obviously coming off that knockout loss, and he's 43 years old. Few things don't get better with age, man. I mean, your chin doesn't get better with age. Your cardio doesn't get better with age. And those are things that have, I mean, his chin never really failed Demian. I don't really necessarily think Belal Muhammad is going to do much in terms of that because Belal, he's not a finisher. I mean, he's knocked out nobody in the UFC. And, you know, Demian Maia, he's only been finished twice by strikes in his career. The last time against Gilbert Burns, I mean, he is getting older, so it's a little bit alarming that he got knocked out. But Gilbert Burns, you know, he showed he has a pop to put down a guy like Usman. I mean, that guy has some big power. So I don't think he's going to have to really necessarily worry about that with Belal. And, you know, man, I mean, like I said, it's hard to break down the matchup because obviously Belal is the better striker. And if it stays on the feet, I mean, if he gets stuffed the takedowns, he's going to win the fight. But there's been no indication against anyone at that level to kind of show you or give you a gauge if he gets stuffed. One thing I don't like about this matchup for Belal Muhammad is he's not a guy that cuts a lot of weight, man. He's like 173, 175 pounds on fight day. Damian's one of the biggest welterweights, man. He fought at middleweight for a long time, and he's going to have the height advantage. He's going to have the reach advantage. He's probably going to have 10, 15 pounds in weight. And Belal, like I said, he's not like a master striker where he could control the range. He has great footwork, crazy speed, and he's going to be able to keep Demian Maia at distance for 3 rounds. Or, I mean, he's not really like a crazy wrestler. I mean, in terms of his background either. Obviously, he's used his grappling to beat a lot of guys. But, yeah, I just don't think that he has that super dynamic skill. I mean, everyone that, if you look at it like that, beat Demian Maia, it's either like Anderson Silva's like super elite strikers or nasty grapplers, wrestlers, man, like Chris Weidman, Usman, Colby Covington, Woodley, Mark Munoz, Jake Shields, guys that had pedigrees as elite level wrestlers, grapplers, and Belal, he doesn't quite have that, man. I don't necessarily agree with the line either. I don't know what Belal has done to justify being almost a 2.5 to 1 favorite over a legend in the game like Maia. Like I said, he's never fought anyone with the grappling pedigree of Maia either. So, I mean, until he proves it to me, I mean, maybe he's going to come in here, deny the takedowns, get Maia tired, and then beat him down and get the finish, get the decision win. Maybe Maia's going to come in here and looking really slow, sloppy, and not very good. But Demian Maia isn't a guy that has to win on athleticism. He wins on all purely technique. He's going to have a big size advantage. And, if Belal Muhammad proves me wrong, if he's able to stuff the takedowns, keep it on the feet, dominate the fight, then he's going to get the victory. But I'm not going to, kind of give him the benefit of the doubt yet. He's been fighting the Takashi Satos. He's been fighting the Lyman Goods. He's been fighting, guys that aren't even going to be able to sniff someone like Demian Maia. So, we saw Belal Muhammad go to war with Lyman Good. We saw Demian Maia take out Lyman Good in like a minute. So, I mean, it just, not that that's like MMA math, not that that matters, but it's just the level of competition. Maia has never really lost to a guy on Belal Muhammad's level. So, maybe it's going to happen. This year, man, it's been bad for these older guys. They've all been kind of losing, but I like the spot. I like the number on the line as well. And I'm going to go with Demian Maia here. Now the show begins, baby. We got Nate Diaz taking on Leon Edwards, and say what you want. I mean, a lot of people, hate on Nate Diaz days. They want to talk shit about his record, how he looks in fights. But man, I mean, the guy's getting paid a lot of money. He goes in here, he gets what he wants to do. I mean, the guy's getting a 5-round fight in a third fight of the card. I mean, it's not even the co-main event. It's gonna be 5 rounds, and he's kind of blessed with this guy, Leon Edwards. Man, I mean, Leon Edwards has won 8 fights in a row or 9 fights in a row in the UFC. He's obviously coming off that no contest against Belal Muhammad. And the thing is, though, about Leon, and everyone kind of knows it, is he's just not a very super popular guy. He doesn't have that it factor in terms of his interviews. He doesn't put himself out there too much. He kind of has gotten clowned, and his name has gotten bashed by a lot of these top guys. They don't really, put a lot of respect on his name. So you got to give a big shout out to Nate Diaz, man. He's coming in here and he's gonna legitimize this guy. If Leon can get the win and take out Nate, I mean, there's no denying Leon from fighting anyone in the division. Whereas I guess it's similar for Nate. I wonder if that's kind of why he's taking the fight. I mean, to me, it's like, if you look at it as well, I feel like Nate, he feels like maybe he still wants to be competitive. Obviously, he's obviously a guy that thinks he could be towards the top, even if people don't believe that. And, he's 36. It's obviously like, 5 years ago, I think this fight would have been maybe aligned a lot closer. Even though I don't agree with Leon being a minus 500 favorite, he has to be a pretty handily sized favorite in this fight, just with all the wear and tear Nate has had over the years and how he's looked in recent fights, his layoffs, things like that. But, Leon, he hasn't been very active either, but he's 29. The last time we saw him, he looked the greatest he ever looked. But one thing about Nate, I mean, that he's been saying, and he usually doesn't like hype himself up in this way, is, he's 100% healthy. Obviously, he's had Nick back in the, working with him all the time. He's going to make a comeback as well. So I think that Nate may come in here looking a little bit sharper, a little bit better than he did in his fight with Jorge Masvidal. So we're going to see what happens. But, I mean, just looking at the style of matchup, I mean, obviously, Leon Edwards is going to be the way slicker, more technical striker. He has better movement. He's bigger. He's southpaw. But, Nate is going to have the reach advantage. And, he's going to be able to match that southpaw to southpaw look, which is going to, I think, give Nate some issues because Leon, I mean, he's not really a big low kick type of guy, but I think he's going to throw a lot of low kicks against Nate, obviously, and, try to exploit that, obviously, that thing that Nate doesn't really do well. But I feel like a lot of these breakdowns this week are going to be all, about how Nate is going to get his ass whooped in this fight. So I do want to kind of, talk some things like that I think Nate could do, because you see Leon. I feel like if you look at the matchups for the guys in the top 5, this is a better matchup than all the other ones for Nate, because you don't want to put him in there with the big time wrestler, guy that's going to take him down. I mean, that's usually most of his losses. You look at his record, I mean, guys that have outstruck him on the feet, I mean, he had the war with Conor McGregor, where, he lost that majority decision. He had that loss to Josh Thompson and the loss to Masvidal. Besides that, he's only lost really by getting taken down late on. And Leon, I mean, I could see him trying to take him down and clutch him against the cage as well. But I think from Nate's standpoint, he thinks it's going to be more of a stand-up fight. And Leon has a tendency to give up the center of the cage. He backs up in straight lines. And he will put his back against the octagon. So it does kind of, in my opinion, give a decent matchup for Nate. And what I think Nate kind of needs to do in this fight, and what he does in like all of his fights, is he has to pressure and he has to back Leon Edwards up to that cage. And from there, I feel he has to kind of play like a little game with Leon, where he's using his 1-2, and he should use the 1-2 to step into the body lock, or the 1-2 and then just try to counter maybe with a hook after it, or a short shot after it. Kind of keep Leon guessing, 1-2 in a body lock, or 1-2-3s, just kind of make it where he doesn't really know what to do or what you're going to do against the octagon, so you can land some nice shots. We did see actually Brian Barberena pressure Leon Edwards effectively, and he actually dropped him with the quick 1-2, the Nate Diaz style 1-2, where he throws the 2 with kind of no rhythm. Another thing that I think Nate could try to exploit is Leon really likes to counter your uppercuts, or counter with uppercuts when you throw the jab. I think that if Nate punches with him when he's throwing the uppercut and throws a 2 or a 3, I think he could land and hurt him pretty significantly. I mean, we saw RDA have a little bit of success with that. Nate also, after he throws his 1-2, Leon is probably going to be trying to counter his 1-2 right away. So Nate needs to, throw in like a right hook or like a left hook, like a shot after, to kind of break the rhythm of Leon when he's trying to pull counter him. But man, I mean, when you're just looking at the fight objectively, I just feel like Leon is going to be a lot faster, and that's going to be a big thing, because I think he's going to be moving backwards a little bit, but Leon's going to be able to use his footwork, touch, and move. And the one thing I don't think Leon has is knockout power, but he has those elbows, man. The elbows that Leon throws, he has the really nice counter uppercuts, and he'll throw counter 2s, counter 1-2s, and he really likes to throw 3-6s, like so he'll throw left hook uppercut combinations, things like that, right hook uppercut combinations. He has that really nice head kick, and he just keeps it all flowy. He's gonna, like I said, have the speed advantage here, and he's gonna have to try to catch Nate as he's coming in, and try to minimize the amount of time that Nate can hold him in the clinch against the cage or dirty box there. And I also think Leon's going to be looking to grapple too. I mean, you see in a lot of his fights with Cowboy, with RDA, how he deals with the forward pressure is by, level changing into the body lock, or, hitting the takedown, controlling you on the ground. But I think that he's going to try to do that against Nate as well, if Nate is having, some success with his striking. But I could also see Leon just picking him off and having an easy night just by touching and moving. I do think this is an easier matchup than like Jorge Masvidal, for instance, because I don't think Leon has that boxing ability on the inside, whereas I think Nate is the better boxer in this fight. Masvidal was the better boxer in the fight with Nate, and that gave him a lot of issues, because that's Nate's whole game on the feet, essentially. And, you see Leon, he's not really, I don't think he has the level of boxing that Nate has, so I think that on the inside, Nate's going to be able to have a little bit more success, but he's going to have to get there, and that's where it's going to be the issue. Another thing that I think is just an issue, and I said it earlier, is the elbows, man, because of the scar tissue. I think that, you're giving a guy that throws, some of the best elbows in the UFC against a guy that gets cut open, in almost every fight. So would I be shocked if Nate lost this fight via doctor stoppage? I mean, not at all. And, it's hard to pick Nate as a pick. But, I mean, plus 380, I really do think that's kind of crazy. I mean, I don't get how, he came in there off the huge layoff against Belal Muhammad, almost 2 years off, and he's like a minus 220 favorite, and now against Nate Diaz, he's like minus 500. I think that is a little bit wide, and I definitely feel like Nate, if this was a couple years ago on the feet, he could give Leon some issues, because Leon, to me, is his striking is good, but it's a little bit overrated. I feel like he's won a lot of his fights by being well-rounded, being able to grapple. And, you've seen Leon drop rounds to guys that you shouldn't really see a guy his caliber dropping rounds to. Like, for instance, Brian Barberena, he had a really close round with guys like Peter Sabota. He dropped that third round to Gunnar Nelson, where he was mounted at the end of the round and getting beat up pretty badly. So, I mean, if you're getting dropped by Brian Barberena, you're getting mounted by Gunnar at the end of the third round and kind of looking like you're a little bit of trouble, you're getting a little bit tired, you're having these close fights with Cerrone. I mean, I feel like, I wouldn't be surprised, motherfuckers, if Nate went in there and, shocked the world. Or that's a lie. I would be surprised. But, man, I want Nate to win, obviously. I'm a fan of kind of like action fighters, and, Nate always kill or be killed type of guy. It's Leon's more a point fighter, and, I think Leon's going to get it done. I think he could get the finish, and I think it'll probably be pretty dominant. But I do think Nate, he has some ways that he could get into the fight. He could do well. I think Leon, his chin is maybe not as good as some people, say. So we'll see what happens. I feel like, irregardless, Nate always comes in and he brings the show. He does what he wants to do. And, as long as people pay to see him fight, he's going to keep getting these big purses and being in these marquee matchups. So you got to give him some credit. I mean, he could have fought, an easier opponent for sure. He could have fought whoever he wanted, but he's given Leon Edwards this opportunity. I'm sure Leon is super excited, super pumped up too. And, they're going to throw down on this card. And I think Leon's going to get the win here, but got to give a shout out to Nate. And it's always fun to see, the Diaz brothers in the cage there for sure. And man, here we go. Co-main event of the evening, UFC flyweight title. This is a rematch of instant classic, man. I mean, Deiveson Figueiredo, Brandon Moreno went to war in their last fight. It was an amazing fight. It was a draw. Deiveson actually won, I believe, but with the point deduction, it became a draw. And yeah, man, but it was an excellent fight. I mean, back and forth fight. Deiveson was a huge favorite going into the fight, but Brandon Moreno showed, he's right there neck and neck with Deiveson. Did a lot of good work. One thing I do think people aren't really talking about, though, that could be a big factor in the fight is that, Deiveson Figueiredo did talk about having a lot of issues the day before the fight. He was in the hospital, things like that. And, when you go back and you think about that fight, it was 3 weeks after for both these guys. They fought, I believe, what card was that? I don't remember, but Figueiredo was a pay-per-view. He fought Alex Perez. He got the victory. Brandon Moreno got that victory over Brandon Royval. And they turned around and they fought like 3 weeks later. So Figueiredo had to make those 2 weight cuts back-to-back. And I feel like he's one of the biggest flyweights, in UFC history, man. I mean, you saw him against Joe B the first time they fought for the title. He couldn't even make the weight. So that definitely, to me, is not something that he should be doing, cutting back-to-back in less than a month like that. I feel like someone his size, he needs to take the time to do the weight cuts. And now he's going to have like 5-6 months in between the fights. So I do think he can come in and not like he had a bad performance that first time against Moreno, but I do think, maybe it impacted it just a little bit in a way. But, that fight was just incredible, man. I mean, you saw early on, Deiveson Figueiredo, in my opinion, kind of put it on him a little bit. He came out really fast, and I think that Moreno kind of couldn't really deal with the power and the counter ability early on of Figueiredo. That jab was on fire for Figueiredo too. But Moreno, man, I mean, his boxing looked incredible. And the thing about Deiveson, I mean, even though he has that big power edge, he's more of a guy that throws, 1-2 punch combinations. He doesn't really throw, a lot of volume. He's obviously the knockout puncher. And Moreno was countering with really crispy combos, man. That left hook to the body, to the head. He was really, really doing a lot of great work himself. That high kick he was throwing was dangerous, man. I mean, he actually kind of wobbled Deiveson a couple times, it looked like, with that high kick. So, Moreno had a lot of moments. He also had success when he started going to the wrestling. He was able to take down Deiveson a couple times and control him on the ground. And I think that maybe in this fight he's going to try to go to the wrestling a little bit earlier in the fight, try to get Deiveson tired, and then maybe be able to, wear on him down the stretch and be a little bit quicker with his boxing and kind of even up the odds with the power, because Deiveson could be a little bit tired. But you could even say vice versa. I mean, you could say that Deiveson can get the takedown, because we saw near the end of that 5th round when he got the takedown, got on top of Brandon Moreno, he was really putting it on him. So I think that his ground and pound could be a factor if he could actually take Moreno down. And man, I mean, this is an excellent fight because both these guys have really good striking, man. I mean, you saw their exchanges in the pocket, and I think like Deiveson, he's the more technical guy. He has the wider arsenal of strikes. Has that skill level at 100. But Brandon Moreno, man, he's just so tough, so durable. He has that excellent boxing himself. He was slipping a lot of those shots on the inside and countering really effectively. And, you know, that high kick and the takedowns that he can mix in, keeping the high pace, trying to out-volume Deiveson is, what his game plan is going to be here. And I think that both these guys want this really badly. Neither guy's going to back down. It's going to be another, instant classic, all-time great type of fight again. And, I don't know. I mean, I actually felt like that last fight that Moreno, he had an excellent performance, but I think that Figueiredo won pretty clearly, to be honest with you. I felt like he landed the better shots in the exchanges. He was the guy coming forward. He did the most damage, and, I feel like Moreno fought excellent in that fight. I don't know how much better he could be. And I think Deiveson, even though he had a great performance, I do think that it could be even better with him, coming in here off, a better training camp and not being sick, not having to do 2 weight cuts in 3 weeks. So for me, I'm just going to go with Deiveson. I think that he's going to be a little bit too dynamic. I think that he's going to be able to hurt Moreno and maybe keep the pressure on a little bit better in this fight. I think that he's going to kind of get a beat a little bit on Brandon when he wants to get the takedown, what he wants to do with the counters, things like that. I think he's going to have a little bit better defense for the high kick. And I think Deiveson and Moreno are going to come in here and try to maybe use low kicks on each other. But I think Deiveson is going to be a little bit more effective. So ultimately, I'm going to go with Deiveson Figueiredo. I just feel like he's going to come in here, have a good performance, and get it done. But, man, I mean, if you're looking at just the money line as a bet, it is a little bit intriguing, right, when you got a 2-1 guy coming off of draw. But I do feel like Figueiredo, he won that first fight. I think he's going to win this fight. And I think he's going to, win it a little bit clearer this time, kind of cement himself as the number 1 guy here in this division. And I'm going to go with, the God of War here, Deiveson Figueiredo. And finally, we got the main event here with Israel Adesanya taking on Marvin Vettori. The rematch, the grudge match. Both these guys, have been around that top of the 185 division for a while now. Obviously, they fought back in the day. Israel won via split decision, and Marvin's kind of been chasing him ever since. He hasn't lost since, and finally got put back in this position to, be in front of Israel Adesanya again. Izzy, obviously after that fight with Marvin, went on that big tear, got all those knockouts, got a lot of finishes, won the belt, became a superstar, became a, household name in terms of MMA fans. And he's coming off of a weird thing, though, where, most of the time, if you're a UFC champion, you lose your fight. You're not going to be the champion of your next fight, obviously, but Israel Adesanya went up to 205, so obviously his belt wasn't up, for grabs in that fight. He challenged for Jan Blachowicz' light heavyweight title, couldn't get the job done. So he's coming in here off of a loss, which is a little bit interesting. I mean, you have to kind of put that into account. It's the first loss of his career. How is he going to bounce back from that? How is he going to look? Israel, to me, I mean, I don't think he's the type of guy that's ever going to fold or kind of bend to pressure or kind of get in his head about a loss. I think he has supreme confidence. He has a ton of fights. He has losses in other combat sports. So definitely think that he's going to be there ready to go. And he doesn't like Marvin. Marvin doesn't like him. So you have even more added motivation on top of that. But Marvin, man, he's a super hungry guy. I mean, you look at him at every fight. He wants it. He comes in there and he really, really goes for it in all of his fights. And the guy's a madman. I mean, all week you see him screaming, yelling. He's so intense, and it's real. It's not like he's faking the technique, So he's a guy that really, really, really wants this belt, and he's gonna push Izzy. He's gonna try to take this title. But I mean, when you watch that first fight, I don't really get how they gave that a split decision. I thought that Israel won that fight pretty clearly. Marvin Vettori, he has gotten better, in my opinion, in terms of his defense a little bit. I think that his head movement has gotten pretty significantly better. I think that also, he obviously has gotten pretty good with his boxing. He has fast hands, closes the distance with punches and bunches, tries to, back you against the cage and overwhelm you with, one with like kind of his combinations of strikes, his fast 1-2s, and then get you to the ground. He more likes to get Greco takedowns, the body lock, get inside-outside trips, things like that. More recently, though, he's gotten better with his level changes, getting double legs, and I think that obviously he's going to have his wrestling on another level in this fight against Israel Adesanya. Because, I think Marvin is a good wrestler, and he's a black belt. He obviously is very good when he can get it to the ground, but he's not a great elite wrestler. And I think he's going to struggle to really strike with a guy like Izzy, because his style, man, he's a forward pressure guy that, doesn't really, he doesn't, have a lot of trickiness in his style. He's going to come forward. He's going to throw his 1-2s, his punches and bunches on the inside, try to back you up, get in the clinch, take you down. And it's pretty obvious what he's going to do. He comes forward. He, is going to be there for you. If you could touch him and move, you're going to be able to hit him as he comes in. He really bites to feints pretty hard. We saw that against Israel. He was biting to a lot of his feints. And, Israel would feint to the body, then, would open up to the head. He actually hurt Marvin with a nice elbow in one of those rounds by feinting to the body, then throwing that elbow. And I feel like in this fight, he's going to try to maybe stand his ground a little bit more, use those low kicks, work the feints, control the center, and try to, make a statement, walk Marvin into something. But I think Marvin, man, there's guys like Paulo Costa where I feel like you can kind of beat them before they get into the fight. You heard Paulo before that fight talking about he's drinking wine the night before, and now, he's like... Who the fuck knows? He's talking about being a YouTuber, so it's like, yeah. But like Marvin Vettori, that guy's a steel trap, man. You're not going to beat him before the fight. He's going to go in there and he's going to fight to 100% his abilities, and it's going to come down to whether he's good enough to beat Israel Adesanya or not. I don't think he's going to get punked out. I don't really necessarily see Israel getting a finish either. I see him kind of promising this finish and all that, but Marvin's a bad motherfucker, man. He's going to be hard to take out. And, he's going to continue to come forward. He's going to have that, really will and want to get that belt. I think he wants it more than anything. He's super, 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 super motivated. But I just feel like technique-wise on the feet, he's really going to struggle with the feints, the movement of a guy like Israel Adesanya. I think Israel is going to be significantly faster. I think the leg kicks, the jabs are going to be a big deal. And I do think he's going to walk him into some big shots. And I think that, Marvin, it's like... unless he improved his wrestling significantly or he can get on the inside and kind of land some big shots, I don't really see how he could win, because it's not like he's a knockout guy. So that kind of takes away that one-punch knockout ability. He can't really catch Israel and take him out in that way. He's going to need to take him down and beat him up, which Jan Blachowicz did kind of show. Like, I do believe if Marvin can take him down, he's probably going to have success controlling him. I think he's gotten a little bit better with his top control, things like that. But in the first fight, you did see Israel, he had no fear grappling with Marvin, man. He went for a lateral drop, ended up on his back, used a leg lock to scramble and get back up to his feet. And, both times Marvin took him down, he was able to stand back up. I feel like against Jan Blachowicz, Jan was setting up that double leg really well. And, he obviously had that extra weight as well, which made it harder for Israel to do much off of his back. But, I think that him having the striking ability, the defense, and just like the fact that Israel was worried about what Jan was offering him on the feet opened up those takedowns, and it made Israel more tired, because I don't think that Marvin is going to give him as much to think about on the feet. So I think that even if he gets taken down by Marvin, it's going to be a little bit different. I think I just feel like he's going to be a little bit more control. He's going to be kind of a little bit more step ahead, and I think that Israel is going to be able to get it done. Another thing you look at with Jan Blachowicz and Israel is the reach, man. Jan Blachowicz has like a 78, 79-inch reach. He's a huge guy. He's like 6'3", 6'4" as well. Whereas Marvin is going to have a significantly less reach advantage. So Israel's going to have, the ability to kind of keep that range, move around. This isn't going to be at like the Apex or anything like that. It's in Arizona. So they're going to have the big cage as well, which is a big help in my opinion to Izzy. Whereas that Jan Blachowicz fight was in that small octagon. So I just feel like Israel's going to be able to go out here. And I'm not saying Marvin isn't going to have his moments. I think he's going to press forward. He's going to eat some big shots, and he's going to be able to get on the inside, land some boxing combos, maybe even get a takedown or two, some control time. And win 1 or 2 rounds, make it an interesting fight. But at the end of the day, I just think Israel's going to be able to either win on points or get a finish here, which I think is kind of less likely. But I do feel like Israel's going to be able to get the victory here and probably win pretty comfortably. I think that Marvin is going to be there, push him, make it a hard fight, but I think it's going to be clear who the winner is. So for me, I'm going to go with Israel Adesanya in this one. I think he's going to be able to retain his belt, kind of, get his stock back up and reclaim, his throne as the king of the middleweights, even though he never lost that, but just kind of reaffirm that and show, he's not going anywhere even after that loss. So it's a big fight for Israel. I mean, if he loses 2 in a row, loses his belt, that would be a tough loss for sure for Israel. I don't know really where he would go from there, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think he's going to go in there and he's going to be able to get it done. So going to go with Israel Adesanya. And so there you have it, guys. I hope you appreciate this breakdown. Went a little bit long on this one, but there was a lot of great fights to talk about. It was an awesome card. And so I really hope you appreciate it. Like I said, I want to try to get 300 likes. So everyone, smash the like button. And like I said at the beginning, if you want to be part of this Parlay of the Week contest, then you just got to put down either a prop, parlay, anything you want, single play, even if you want to do like a huge underdog on the money line. I don't really think there's one that's that significantly a big underdog, maybe like a Nate Diaz or something, then you could even do that. But just put down a play. Whoever hits that has the most ROI on the play is going to get the victory, and they're going to win $20 courtesy of EquitySportsAnalytics.com for sponsoring the Parlay of the Week. But the Parlay of the Week for you guys that I'm going to give you is going to be Movsar, Evloev, and Jamahal. So that's going to be the Parlay of the Week for me for this week for you guys. For the Underdog of the Week, it's going to be Demian, Maia. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll talk to you guys later. And just one last thing, if you want to jump on the Patreon, I am going to be putting up a lot of content, the Bellator, PFL, Invicta, maybe some ACA as well. So there's a lot of stuff coming up. I always really appreciate everyone that jumps in there. We've been doing well, making some money. So if you want to join the community, do that. And, once again, if you want to join that Fanatics Fantasy MMA app account that I'm on, I'm going to be putting it in the description below. Jump on that. If you start putting your picks in, if you have the best percentage at the end of the year, you're going to be winning the $100. So make sure to, put your name in the hat for that if you're not in there. But I'll talk to you guys later and really appreciate it.